Hey Eurovision fans, today I'm giving you my deep dive analysis of the semi-final allocation draw for Eurovision 2025. I've got charts, I've got stats, I've got magnets. You're gonna love it. Let's kiki. Hi, my name is Tom. I'm an Irish Eurovision analyst, and you can find all of this stuff on my Eurovision channel. So the draw happened yesterday. I thought it was a pretty fun affair. They made a couple of jokes about recycling things, which I thought were fun. I thought the hosts were good. They had a nice rapport, and they had some pretty crazy outlandish costumes in the Swiss colors. It made me kind of excited for the hosting because I didn't really expect the Swiss host to be funny, but maybe they will be. Extremely disappointed to see that Moldova were not included in this allocation draw. We're going to have to assume at this point that they're not going to be in Eurovision 2025. A lot of us were holding out hope that a sponsor was going to pay for Baku to go to Basel, but it looks like that is not the case. I don't know if the EBU would allow Moldova to slot into the first semi-final where there is a space available for them. At this point in time, we need to assume they're not going to be there. Very sad to see that. I hope we get them back as soon as possible. If you want the full story about that, I did an emergency news episode about it. Super quick update on my national finals. A lot of people ask me when certain videos are coming out. These are the national finals that I've already completed. I filmed Serbia, but I haven't edited yet. And then these are all the ones that I'm going to cover, but I haven't done yet. I'm going to prioritize them based on when the national final is and also the amount of hype. So for example, Slovenia's national final is on Saturday, so I need to do that because it's coming up really soon. But after that, I'll go by who's the hypiest. Quick explanation of how the draw happens. The countries are put into 5 pots based on historical voting patterns. This is to make sure, for example, that we don't get all Balkan countries all in one semi-final. And then there's this big Balkan party, which I'm into. I would like a Balkan party. But yeah, you want the Balkans split apart. You want the Scandinavian countries split apart. It just means that the songs getting through to the final are going to be based a little bit more on merit rather than just getting super lucky. For example, if Denmark got Finland and Norway and Iceland and Sweden, they might be able to break their 4 non-qualification streak. The hosts then draw out which semi-final each country is going to go into and then also which half of the semi-final. So there's 4 possibilities. Semi-final number 1, first half, second half. Semi-final number 2, first half, second half. Now, why does this matter? I don't really think there's much difference between semi-final number 1 and number 2 personally, but I do think there's a big difference between first half and second half. Since the 2 semi-final system started in 2008, we've had 32 semi-finals, and only 3 times has the first half of any semi-final had more qualifiers than the second half. So super rare. 3 out of 32. Of the other 29 times, 8 times there were an equal amount from the first half and the second half, and 21 times were there more qualifiers from the second half. So we've had 7 times more occasions where there have been more qualifiers from the second half than from the first half. So being in the second half gives you a much better chance of qualifying. To be specific, it's 11%. In that, if you look at all the qualifiers since 2008, you have an 11% better chance of qualifying if you're in the second half. And that's literally just from having a ball pulled out. Now, that doesn't mean being in the first half is doom and gloom. Last year, we had more qualifiers from the first half because the song quality was just great. Sweden get put in the first half so much. They're actually one of the top 5 unluckiest countries for being drawn into the first half, and they still have a 93% qualification rate. So just because you're drawn first half, it doesn't mean a death sentence. But if you're kind of a borderline qualifier already, being drawn in the first half or the second half can actually be the final straw on whether you qualify or don't qualify. So that's why it is relevant, and we're going to be looking at who has been lucky and who's been unlucky. Personally, I think this is because more people are tuned into the show towards the end. I think people are running late. Sometimes they miss the first 3, 4, 5, 6 songs. So I think there's more eyes on the songs towards the end. For example, the qualification rate from the second running order slot is 41%. The qualification rate from the 18th slot is 88%. So over double. So generally you want to be the last song. Doesn't guarantee you'll get through. Latvia didn't qualify from the last slot with the draw the line on the line. Something about lines. It was just called line. Okay, so with that in mind, let's go to our first semi-final, and we can see here countries drawn in the first half of the first semi-final are Estonia, Iceland, Poland, Portugal, Slovenia, Sweden, Ukraine. And in the second half, we have Albania, Azerbaijan, Belgium, Croatia, Cyprus, Netherlands, Norway, and San Marino. The 3 automatic qualifiers who will be voting in the semi-final are Italy, Spain, and Switzerland. And of course, we have the rest of the world vote, which, if you don't know, is the rest of the world. It's really self-explanatory. It's in the name. There will be 19 countries doing a televote in semi-final number 1 to pick the 10 finalists who go through to the Eurovision Grand Final. Okay, we're going to switch to this graphic now, which shows every country's qualification streak in the last 6 years. So you can see 18, 19, 21, 22, 23, 24. Those are obviously the years. And then a green dot is if they qualified, a red dot is if they didn't qualify, and a yellow dot is if they were the hosts that year, so they didn't need to qualify. So right off the bat, you can see between 2017 and 2023, we had 6 winners, and 4 of them are in this semi-final. The 5th one is Italy, which obviously doesn't need to qualify. And then the 6th one is Israel, which is in semi-final number 2. So you can see right off the bat that this semi-final has the countries who in recent years have been able to cross the line and win Eurovision. The first step of which, of course, is qualifying. Okay, let's first talk about Estonia. And you can see they've got a really great record there, although they're only on a 3 qualification streak. 5 of the last 6 years. And on top of that, they've got Tommy Cash this year, who is the big favourite to win Istiklal. Despite Tommy Cash, they've got other good options as well. I don't think Tommy is the only person who will qualify. Tommy would definitely qualify. He's a very televote friendly song, but there are definitely other options there as well. Estonia doing a fantastic job for a country of only 1.36 million, really showing some of the bigger countries that if you build up this national final, which has a lot of prestige and personality around it, you're gonna attract these really, really cool independent artists, and they've done so fantastically well. No Lithuania, no Latvia, that's a little bit sad for them. And they're in the first half as well. But if they pick Tommy Cash, I think they don't need any friends. I think the whole of Europe is gonna be their friends. They also have Italy as one of the automatic qualifiers. I think there are plenty of people in Italy who will not like this song, but you can't vote against the song, you can only vote for it. So I think there might be some other Italians who might be like, oh cool, Italian. So I think Estonia are in a pretty good position. Next up, we also have Iceland, who are in a slightly rockier period right now. Iceland are super streaky. They had a 7 qualification streak between 2008 and 2014, which included a 2nd place finish in 2009 with Joanna singing Is It True? Then they had a 4 non-qualification streak. Then they had a 3 qualification streak, and now they're back on a new 2 non-qualification streak. So they're constantly flipping between periods of great success and sucking. And they're currently in a not great period right now. I haven't reviewed the Song for Kepling songs yet. I will listen to that definitely, but I haven't heard too much hype about it. So a little bit worried for Iceland. They're in the first half. They're in a difficult semi-final. Keep in mind that semi-final number 1 only has 15 countries. Semi-final number 2 has 16. So that is one aspect that makes semi-final 1 a little bit easier, in that 67% of people qualify as opposed to 62.5% in semi-final number 2. That's not a huge amount, but an extra 4% is pretty welcome for some countries. Generally, being in the second half of the smaller semi-final is the preferred quarter. Any case with Iceland, yes, I really hope they turn things around. If you've been watching my channel for a while, you know Iceland are the country I want to win Eurovision the most. I don't think it's going to happen this year. I want it to happen in my lifetime. Me on my deathbed watching Iceland win Eurovision. That's the dream. It's a weird dream. I'd rather it happen before I'm on my deathbed. I hope it happens multiple times before that happens. They've got Sweden and Norway, but I still think that Iceland is in a little bit of trouble here. Now let's go to Poland, who only have qualified 2 times out of the last 4 years, but they've got a bit of a mix-up this year. They've got a new national final. Their broadcaster has had a revamp of sorts, and I've seen a lot of hype for their national final, which is going to be one of the ones I review quite soon because of that hype. You know, last year they were the only country in the first half who didn't qualify. There were 7 countries in the first half. 6 of them went through. Poland were the only one who didn't. So a little bit sad about that. I think Luna would have had a chance if she was in the second half. I think that might be one of those cases where if she'd pulled the second half ball, maybe she could have possibly gotten through, maybe not. In any case, I am patiently waiting for Poland to go through their golden era. I think it's coming soon. It's crazy that Poland hasn't won yet. This isn't the best draw, but I do feel with this new revamp, this new 100% televote system in the national final, I think that's going to help. Obviously, having a 100% televote only national final is going to correlate more with getting a good televote in the Eurovision semi-finals. So yeah, I'm hopeful for Poland. I want the golden era to start now. Okay, next up is Portugal, another one of our winners in these last few contests. They're usually extremely lucky with the draw. They're the 7th luckiest country in Eurovision in terms of drawing second half. Not this year though. They have been drawn first half. There's been pretty big hype for this national final. I'm definitely covering it this year. I wasn't able to cover it last year because I had so many copyright issues, but this year I'm more on track. I have seen a lot of people talking about this, which is a really good sign. Portugal have had this fabulous turnaround since 2017 when they won the contest. They had one non-qualification with Telemoveš in 2019. I still thought that was a wonderfully risky and interesting song. And then they've had 4 qualifications since then, and 3 of those songs have been top 12. So Portugal are hot. I'm going to have to put the glove on because this magnet is on fire. Yeah, Portugal definitely are one of those countries who are in the mix to win the contest because they send stuff that's kind of unusual. A record of being top 12. They're qualifying every year. Despite being first half, I'm expecting Portugal to be qualifying again this year, which means that there is one less slot in semi-final number 1. Next up is Slovenia. I'm not hearing the best things about the national final. They've got a pretty decent record though. If you look for qualifications out of the last 6 years, they were doing these internal selections, which I thought were going very well, but it caused a lot of controversy. They're back to their national final, which has the world's most ridiculous format, 12 songs. A jury will pick 2 of them to go through to the final, which we have to watch. We have to watch all 12 songs. We'll pick the 2 that go through to the final, and then you can do a televote. Bizarre system. In any case, hopefully Slovenia will have some options. I think they're in danger. First half, they've got Croatia and they've got Albania, but I wouldn't expect as much guaranteed love from Albania as I would if Serbia was here. So yes, I feel that Slovenia is in a little bit of trouble here. Okay, next up is Sweden, and you can see there they have a 100% qualification streak in the last 6 years, 93% qualification rate overall. That one time was poor Anna Bergendahl, who actually came 11th, so she was really close. And in fairness to Anna, Charlotte Pirelli came 12th in her semi-final, but she got through on the golden jury rule technicality. So a little bit unfair on Anna that she has the reputation of being the only non-qualifier for Sweden ever, when actually Charlotte Pirelli did worse, but just got a little bit lucky. In any case, Sweden is an absolute guaranteeing qualifier unless something just goes absolutely crazy. They also are extremely unlucky at drawing the first half. They only get drawn in the second half 33% of the time. Despite that, they qualify so much, just showing that if you send quality, if you put a lot of effort, put this big magnificent show into choosing your entry and get good artists, you're going to qualify no matter where you are in the running order. I believe there's been a leak of Måns Zelmerlow's song, and it seems to have gotten a very good reception. I don't listen to leaks, not a fan of leaks. I want to save my first reaction from my reaction videos. Another slot is gone from semi-final number 1, unless something very crazy happens with Sweden. Speaking of incredible qualification streaks, our last country is Ukraine. The only country in the whole contest that has a 100% qualification streak. We used to have Romania, Russia and Azerbaijan with a 100% qualification streak, but all 3 of them lost it in 2018. Since then, Ukraine are the only country holding on. A little bit of disappointment this year with Vidbir from the Eurovision community. Ukrainians seem to really like it. They feel like it really represents their music scene. They think it's very exciting. There is a slight mismatch between the Eurovision community and the Ukrainian community. I still think that Ukraine will qualify. They've never been outside the top 8 in a semi-final. There's no reason to think that they're going to suddenly mess things up now. They only need to pick one song, and then Tana Mwinyo, who is a Grammy, I think she's Grammy nominated, or she might have won a Grammy award-winning artistic director, can come in. She did the music video for Call Me By My Name, which is one of my favorite music videos ever. She's absolutely incredible. So I think if Ukraine are remotely in trouble, they can call in someone like Tana. I think they're going to qualify. So this is another slot that's gone. So you got to look at this first half. Estonia is super hot right now. Portugal are hot, Sweden are hot, and Ukraine are hot. That is 4 hot and spicy countries in the first half. And then you're going to say, is there any space left for Iceland, Poland, and Slovenia? Of those 3, you probably would guess that Poland would be the one if there was a 5th country in that first half. Before we talk about that, we need to go into the second half, and our first country is Albania, who are also super spicy. They've qualified 4 of the last 6 years, and they are one of the few countries who we know the entry. We only have 3 entries at the point of recording this video. Shkodra Elektronika singing Germ. This is a fantastic entry. Those 4 qualifications from Albania are all in the bottom 3, so 8th, 9th, or 10th of the qualifiers. I think this is going to do much better than that. I'm hoping that Albania can be in the top 5 of the qualifiers with this. It's really wonderful. They've got Italy, Croatia, they've got Slovenia, and I just think Everyone across Europe is going to really, really enjoy this. It's a wonderful song. They've got loads of time to work on the performance, which I think is the weakest aspect of it. I think they need to manage Cole better on stage. They've got Switzerland as well, I forgot, which also has a big Albanian population. So Albania are in a really, really good position. This is theoretically another slot that could be gone from the semi-final. These slots are running out pretty quickly. Next up, we have Azerbaijan, who are really in a rough period right now. They're extremely lucky at drawing the second half. This is their third year in a row, but it didn't help them the last 2 years because they are on a 2 non-qualification streak. Not even close with either of them either to qualifying. Very mysterious what's going on with them. I believe their head of delegation has changed. El from Eleniki, who won in 2011, I think he's pretty active. He was on the judging panel for the Luxembourg Song Contest this year, and also he's the head of musical direction or something. So maybe they're doing a little bit of a revamp behind the scenes, but we really have so little information about it. They've got second half, but they're in a tough semi. I'm not expecting them to make it through unless something changes. But yes, Azerbaijan used to have that 100% qualification record up until 2018. Things are so different for them now. They're struggling to qualify. Next up is the country that's top of the odds, and that is Belgium. I don't think they'll be top of the odds for much longer. I don't think the winner is going to come from Eurosong. I think there's some good songs. I think the reason they're still top of the odds is because the bookmakers are quite slow right now because we only have 3 songs out of 37. Belgium qualified 3 of the last 6 years. But keep in mind that Belgium alternates between broadcasters, the Flemish one and the French one. This year it's the Flemish one, and they qualified in 2023, and they also qualified in 2021. So this broadcaster is on a 2 qualification streak, and there's lots of hype for their national final. Keep in mind there was a lot of hype for Musty last year. I thought his song was absolutely magnificent and the staging just went flop. That was the French broadcaster, but let's wait and see who can elevate. The good thing about having a national final is when you have these 8 artists, you pick the person who's got the best performance, so there's less likely to have a performance flop. They're in the second half, got the Netherlands. They don't have Luxembourg. Things are looking okay. I don't think this is a definite yes, the way some people might. We have to wait and see, because I think a lot of people would have put Musty as a definite yes, including myself, and he ended up being very far away from qualifications. I wouldn't say that it's a slot that's gone in the same way that I would for Sweden. Next up is Croatia, who are in their renaissance period. 2 qualifications in a row, Let 3 and Baby Lasagna, and 2 top 13 finishes. They've got a good door this year. I did my reaction video. I think they have lots of interesting options. I feel like Croatia's absolutely turned a corner. People in the country are so invested in the contest now that I don't think HRT can fail. They've got a second half draw. They've got Slovenia. They don't have Serbia. They've got Albania. Italy, does Italy usually give them good points? I think so. But yeah, I'm feeling that Croatia will not want to give up this momentum. So I feel like they're in a pretty good spot. And Croatia are actually the 5th luckiest country for drawing the second half. They get it 67% of the time. So finally capitalizing on their second half of the draw luck. Next up is Cyprus. 5 qualifications of the last 6 years, and actually 8 qualifications in the last 9 years. Also incredible for Cyprus, who is the same size as Estonia. Estonia and Cyprus really showing how you can come up with a system that works for you. Estonia using a national final, Cyprus using an internal selection method, both having fantastic results because they found what works for them. This year they're sending Theo Evan. I believe the song's going to be coming out pretty soon. The description of the song sounds very similar to Czechia's song, Adonis. So it's good that they're in separate semi-finals because they're not going to wash each other out. So that I think is a little bit of luck for Theo. They don't have Greece, but actually if you look at those 8 qualifications, they never needed Greece. As in, the points they got from Greece were not the difference between them qualifying and not qualifying. So Cyprus are doing it on their own. They've been doing great internally. I have a lot of faith that they can continue this streak. And they've got second half this year. Okay, let's go to another country who's won Eurovision recently, and that is the Netherlands, who are also in this incredible period right now. You can see 4 qualifications in the last 5 years. And actually, if you expand that, it's 9 qualifications in the last 11 years. Their renaissance started in 2013 with Anouk. And since then, they obviously won with Duncan Lawrence, and Anouk came 9th, the Common Linz came 2nd, and they've also had 3 11th place finishes. So that's 6 top 11 finishes in total. For me, Netherlands are like an almost guaranteed qualifier. I also feel like with all the crap that the Dutch delegation went through in 2023, they will never, ever want to go through that again. They're going to do everything they can to make sure that the person representing is really, really super strong. They've got a fabulous artist this year, Claude or Cloud, depending on your preference for pronunciation. And they're in the second half. They've got Belgium. They don't need Belgium, but they've got them anyway, like yeah, I'd be so surprised if Netherlands are not only qualifying, but I'm expecting them to be challenging for really, really good jury ranking this year. Okay, let's go to the only country with a 6 out of 6 record in this semi-final, and it is Norway. So yes, all greens across the board. In fact, their last non-qualification was 2016, Agnieszka sing an icebreaker. So that's 7 in a row, which is the third best qualification streak after Ukraine and Sweden. I have seen though that this national final is weaker than normal. I've seen lots of people complaining that they don't like it. I will check it out soon. It is pretty high on my priority list. This is normally my favorite national final, but because the hype has been so bad this year, I've actually prioritized some other national finals instead. I'm so excited to check this out. You know, I'm still thinking that Norway will be able to pull through. They've got a new head of delegation, so there might be some inexperience there, but they've got a fantastic record. Their second half, they've got Sweden, they've got Estonia, they've got Iceland. So yeah, like I think it's a little bit too soon to be saying that Norway are going to be a shock. Now, it would be a shock, definitely, because it happens so rarely. But I suppose the more poignant bit is that it's not a guaranteed slot gone. Usually when Norway's in your semi-final, you think, okay, there's only 9 slots available. So there's an opportunity for other countries to come and take their spot if they've got a better package. And last, but by no means least, is San Marino. 2 qualifications out of 4 is not bad for a country of 33,000 people. They're really starting to become the second chance country, which is what I've been saying for them to do for all this time, is be the place where songs that got eliminated from other semi-finals can go and enter. So we're going to see some big names. I believe there's people from Ukraine have entered, a couple of people from Albania as well. Maybe San Marino might have a strong song. They've gotten second half again. They've got Italy. In fairness, Italy don't usually show them that much love. So having Italy isn't necessarily an advantage. I do feel that San Marino doesn't have any diaspora, so they have to come with a really, really wow show. You know, in 2019, they tapped into the Turkish diaspora with Serhat. 2021, Adrenalina was just a great song. So they had a really, really great package, super fun, and they qualified. Really great to see, just showing that because you're a small country with less resources, it doesn't mean that you can't qualify. Second half will give them a bit of a better shot, but you'd have to guess that they are one of the countries who'd be more likely to not qualify. Okay, let's do a little bit of a summary of all of this for semi-final. And we'd say the countries who are hogging slots are Ukraine, Sweden, Portugal, Estonia, Albania, Cyprus, Netherlands, maybe Norway. It doesn't leave many opportunities. Of course, just because countries have performed well in the past doesn't guarantee they're going to be good this year. Some countries might slip up, and that gives an opportunity for someone to jump in. Okay, now let's check out the countries in semi-final number 2. This semi-final has 16 countries in it, which on paper makes it a little bit more difficult to qualify from. 6 countries will be leaving this, as opposed to 5 countries not qualifying from semi-final number 1. The countries in the first half are Armenia, Australia, Austria, Greece, Ireland, Latvia, Lithuania, and Montenegro. And then in the second half, we have Czechia, Denmark, Finland, Georgia, Israel, Luxembourg, Malta, and Serbia. Just a quick reminder, these green dots are when a country qualified, red dots are when they did not qualify, and then the gold dot is when they were the host, so they had automatic qualification to the final. We can see there Israel won in 2018, so they got automatic qualification in 2019. Only 1 winner here, as opposed to 4 winners in semi-final number 1. Okay, let's go to our first country, and that is Armenia. So Armenia on this really, really hot streak of 3 qualifications in a row after having to skip the contest in 2021. They did a little bit of a revamp of their system going internal, and they've had these 3 amazing female singer-songwriters. Mixing it up this year though, going back to their national final, I don't know why that is. I don't know what the official reason is, whether it's financial or whether they had lots of good entries this year. I'm not sure. Because normally I would say Armenia are almost guaranteed to qualify. They've got a fantastic qualification rate of 79%. But this year I feel like they're a little bit more unknown because we don't know what the caliber is going to be like in this national final. We have some rumored names, but there's very little information about it yet. This is Armenia's 3rd year in a row of drawing the first half, but it didn't affect them the last 2 times. They hit the number 2 death slot with Brunette, and she still qualified. And then Ladaniva were a little bit later in the first half, and they qualified as well. Generally, Armenia are super unlucky with the first half, second half draw, are 40th in terms of the most lucky. So they're the 4th least lucky, in joint place with Sweden, only getting the first half 33% of the time. They still have that fabulous qualification record of 79%, showing that they're sending quality. One of the best countries to have never won. In the semi-final, they've got Georgia, they've got France, which has a big Armenian diaspora. They always get good points from France. I think they'll get good points from Israel as well. The only unknown for me is just, what is this national final going to be? If it was another internal selection, I'd be like, this is a definite yes. But because there's a little bit of unknowns, I don't think it's a secured spot yet. Let's go to another A, and that is Australia, with 4 qualifications in the last 6 years. Last year they came very close to qualifying. I think the stage show let them down. Hoping to bounce back again this year. Australia have been in 8 semi-finals and they've never non-qualified back-to-back. So that would suggest that they're going to bounce back really strong this year and qualify again. Lots of rumours going around that Guy Sebastian, who represented them in 2015, may be coming back. I haven't heard anything else yet. It's all very secretive, because Australia did its internal selection system ever since Australia Decides had to stop because the funding was cut. Overall, Australia with a 75% qualification record, so they're generally pretty strong. They've got Ireland, they've got the UK, although the UK doesn't give them as much points as you might expect. They got no Sweden, who they are quite pally with. Australia was actually in the Nordic pot. They are honorary Nordic citizens. So they've got their Finnish friends, they've got Finland here, and Denmark, who could give them points as well. Yeah, I think if the song is strong, Australia can definitely go through. There's this thing that Australia can't do well with the televote. I think that's possibly more true in the final, where you have more casual fans, but in the semi-finals, which has a lot of Eurovision fans who are more accepting, I don't think it's a problem. Australia won their semi-final with Voyager. They can definitely qualify again, and I think they'll want to bounce back. I wouldn't say that's a definite slot though gone. Next up we have our another A. It's Austria. 3 qualifications in the last 6 years, so not super consistent, but Austria is one of the countries who has won in the last 10 contests. Obviously Conchita Wurst, who just hosted the Luxembourg Song Contest and drove us all crazy, has been one of the winners in the last 10 years. Austria's actually won the jury twice in that time as well, only tied with Sweden and Switzerland for that prestigious achievement. But obviously the jury doesn't help in the televote only semi-finals. I wouldn't say in trouble, but this is not perfect for Austria. They do have Germany, they don't have Switzerland, and their first half. So I feel kind of 50-50 on this, in the same way that their record has been for the last 3 years. Internally selecting again, I haven't heard anything about the song. It might be in German. I don't think we've had any leaks yet. Generally their song is leaked. They're not particularly good at hiding it. Okay, our next country in the first half is Greece. Now, I'm filming this on Wednesday, but I'm probably releasing it on Thursday, which is the day of the Greek national final. So what I'm saying might age badly. It looks like it's probably going to be Klavdia or Ivan or Eva. I don't know how to say the G in her name. It's really annoying me. They've qualified for the last 6 years, but you got to keep in mind they've been top 11 3 of the last 4 years. So very similar to Portugal in terms of they're like really solidly qualifying and coming top 12. But Portugal have the win. Greece haven't had a win since 2005. So I feel like Greece needs to be pushing towards that top 5 placing to show that they're a contender to win. New national final this year, pretty solid for a new national final. I think that Klavdia really does have potential. I think that if she was chosen, even in the first half, even being a little bit more battered, like, still got a fantastic chance to qualify. No Cyprus. I don't think that they would need that. They do have Georgia and Israel. Serbia, I don't know if Serbia usually votes for Greece or not. At the end of the day, if you've got a super classy package, you don't need neighbourly voting. Okay, next up is my country. That is Ireland. Now, you can see we have 2 qualifications in the last 6 years, but actually we only have 2 qualifications in the last 10 years. So we just came off a really bad 4 non-qualification streak, but in a fantastic way, coming 3rd in the semi-final and then 6th in the final. Although this looks bad for Ireland being drawn in the first half again, I feel like we're on a little bit of a momentum shift that actually Eurosong this year looks really good. Usually in Eurosong we only have like 1 or 2 viable options. This year I think we have many more options. Hopefully lots of people step up and perform really well, and we'll actually have a choice of who we want to send. Now, we have been first half in the draw for 5 of the last 6 years, but on the flip side, between 2010 and 2014 we drew second half 5 years in a row. So we can't really complain about luck. If you actually look at the rankings, we're 26th out of 43 countries. So we're not the least lucky. We've just been a little bit unlucky in the last 6 years. So much for the luck of the Irish. My key point with Ireland is, I think in previous years, people would be happy to have Ireland in their semi-final because we used to suck so much. But now that we're on a bit of an upturn, I don't think that's the case. I think people probably want to avoid us more than they did in the past. So I feel like Ireland's got a really good shot again. We've got the UK, we've got Australia, Denmark tends to like us, Finland are cool with us as well. I think we've got a good shot. Australia gave us 12 points in the jury last year. Thank you, Australia. Okay, let's go to another country with a very similar story to Ireland, and that is Latvia, who've also turned things around last year, coming off a 6 non-qualification streak in an absolutely fabulous way. Don's was bottom of the qualification odds and still came through. Congratulations to anyone who bet on that. I think you were able to get 7-1 on him qualifying. And now this year, their national final supernova is absolutely spectacular. Probably my favorite national final so far, in a tie with UMK. So I feel like Latvia are on super big momentum. Similar thing to Ireland. Usually you want to be in Latvia's semi-final because they really were hopeless. Not anymore. They're in a little bit of a renaissance right now. So although their record is very weak, overall 25% qualification rate, which is one of the worst out of everybody, I feel like that kind of doesn't matter this year because Latvia are on an upturn. Loads of great options. Very sad to see that Greta has withdrawn her song Monsters. That was one of the ones I was looking forward to the most, but they've got more and more. They've got 4 or 5 really great viable options. So Latvia should definitely be aiming for a second qualification in a row. They've got Ireland, they've got Lithuania, they've got the UK, they've got Germany. No excuses. They definitely should be qualifying again, even from the first half. Let's not move too far from our Baltic friends. Let's go to Lithuania, who've qualified 5 of the last 6 years, the opposite of Latvia. I've been reviewing the semi-finals as they happen on this channel. So far, it's all non-qualifiers, but I've heard that there's some good entries in the 4th and the 5th semi-finals, so not yet time to panic. Lithuania, the only Baltic not to have won, so I do think that they really do want to get that first win, and they're pushing hard. Still way too many songs in their national final. They've got Latvia, they've got Ireland, they've got UK, they've got Germany, they've got so many mates in this. Yeah, I think they just need to send something half decent. Even in 2019, Rome with the Lions, I thought was a very, very weak song, and it still came 11th. So their first half, so was Monica Leo. I think she was the 3rd performer, and she still managed to qualify. Yeah, Lithuania have actually qualified in the top 7 the last 4 years. 4th, 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 and 7th. So they're not just qualifying, they're doing it in a very solid way. So yes, I'm expecting one of these songs on the 4th or 5th heat to like increase the quality, and then, I'm not saying this is a secure slot, but very likely. Which brings us to our last country in this first half, and that is Montenegro. Really disappointed about this. I was hoping that Montenegro would get a little bit of luck and be in the second half. Unfortunately, their first half, I wonder if the EBU might do them a little bit of a favor like they did with Luxembourg, who returned last year, and put Montenegro as late as possible, put them in that 8th slot. Obviously, they've got Serbia here, which is going to be a big help. A little bit unlucky that the other country from their pot is Austria, who I wouldn't really associate with definitely voting for Montenegro in the same way that Croatia, Albania, or Slovenia would. So a little bit of bad luck there. They're on a 5 non-qualification streak. That's the worst in the contest. They're the only person protecting Denmark from being the worst streak in the contest. So Denmark very happy that Montenegro are making their return. Interesting that they're both in the same semi-final as well. Last year we had Georgia, Ireland and Latvia with the worst streaks, and all 3 of them qualified in the same year, which was so exhilarating. I would love both Montenegro and Denmark to qualify this year. But yeah, I gotta admit, my gut instinct right now is that it's going to be really difficult. The song definitely needs a revamp to be more exciting, particularly in the first third. Staging needs to be more wow. This is one of only 3 songs that we know right now. My gut instinct is that it won't qualify unless it's a weak year. But those 12 points from Serbia will really help. Rest of the world vote, maybe North Macedonia can help out as well. I do want them to qualify, but it might be difficult. Okay, now let's go to the 8 songs that are in the second half, and the first one of those is Czechia, which I think of as a little bit of an assassin. They've qualified 4 of the last 6 years, but in 2024 they were 11th, so they've been top 11 5 of the last 6 years in the semi-finals. I think Czechia are one of the best countries who's never won Eurovision. I think they're edgy, they're different. I think they can potentially win. They've drawn second half this year. We know that their artist is going to be Adonis. I did a video about him if you want to check it out. Like I said before, not on the same semi-final as Theo Evan, which I think is good. It's going to make them feel a little bit more unique potentially. We have to wait and see what other artists are there. But I think we're going to be getting some upbeat, dark pop from him with a little bit of dancing as well. I think a lot of the time people really enjoy this different vibe that Czechia has. Not a definite qualifier, but definitely super competitive to qualify, particularly being in the second half. They don't have like any strong friends really who like very reliably vote on that I'm aware of. Actually, are there anyone who reliably give votes to Czechia? Leave a comment down below. Okay, next up we have Denmark. I'm rooting for you, Denmark. Believe it, I'm with all of my heart. 4 non-qualification streak. Definitely in a really, really dark period. Having said that, in the last 11 contests, they are one of the countries who have won. It's crazy to think that Denmark won the contest in 2013, which I suppose is 12 years ago, is quite a while, but we're so far from Denmark winning. We just want them to qualify. I was so happy when this drew second half. I actually cheered. They've got UK, I think. They've got Germany. They've got UK. Ireland, I think, tends to enjoy this type of pop as well. They just need to step up to the plate. I'm so anticipating DMGP. At some point, it has to have a good song. You know, if you just keep knocking at the door repeatedly, eventually somebody is going to answer. Desperately want this to go through. It's in what many people are considering the weaker semi-final. It's in the second half. Best possible draw, according to most people. So this is the opportunity. We thought last year was the opportunity because Denmark was like a co-host of sorts. Many people, including myself, actually stayed in Copenhagen instead of Malmo because accommodation in Malmo was so expensive. That didn't light a fire under their asses. What will? I don't know. But I really, really hope that Denmark can break this streak. Their songs are coming out in February, I believe. Let's go to one of their neighbours who needs absolutely no help whatsoever, and that is Finland. Finland, 5 qualifications in the last 6 years, but their renaissance really started in 2021. That 2018 qualification is Sarah Alto, and she came 10th. So she just scraped in. Since 2021, though, Finland have been absolutely incredible. Revamped their national final with DJ Orkidea, and it's become one of the best national finals, in my opinion, in Eurovision. Not only have they qualified 4 years in a row, but all 4 of those qualifications were in the top 7, and Garia came first in his semi-final. So, in my opinion, this is a slot that's taken up. Finland are definitely qualifying. I think they have multiple options in UMK. I think of the 6 songs, some of them are definite qualifiers, some of them are pretty solid borderlines. The depth of this national final is really excellent. They're in the second half. They don't have Estonia, who really get them, but they do have Latvia, Lithuania, Germany. Like, honestly, the quality of the entries recently, everybody's been voting for them. So I'm really expecting Finland to go through again. This is one of the slots gone, unless something crazy happens. Okay, our next country is Georgia, who just broke a 6 non-qualification streak as well. This is the semi-final with all the badasses who broke their streaks last year. Georgia, Ireland, Latvia. Love it if they could all get another qualification in a row. No news on this yet. I believe they're going for another internal selection. They've got Israel, they've got Armenia as well, and they're in the second half. Another really great opportunity. Georgia are actually extremely lucky at drawing the second half. They're the second luckiest country in the entire contest for drawing the second half, 75% of the time. The first place country is coming up in just a sec, so they definitely can't blame their luck. I think last year really invigorated them. You know, I remember Iru saying that she didn't qualify because she didn't have diaspora voting. Total nonsense. Loads of countries don't have diaspora voting. Australia has nothing, San Marino has nothing, and they both still managed to qualify as well. I think that this qualification last year got rid of the excuses. I think a qualification for Georgia would be really good with everything that's happening in the country right now, just to see some support from the rest of Europe. I hope that they can take advantage of a really great draw. If Azerbaijan was here, I think that might help even a little bit more, but generally they've got really good. But looking at their overall record, you'd have to say that this is kind of 50-50. Okay. Next up, we have Israel. So Israel have qualified for the last 5 years. This is definitely qualifying. I think there's just been an announcement that they're going to be putting €1 million in the budget towards the entire performance. So it's going to be no expense spared. France, Germany, UK, the 3 automatic qualifiers are all going to vote for this. So is the rest of the world. I think it depends how much the country is in the news at this point in time. I think if it's less than the news, maybe the score might be down a little bit, but they're in the second half. They have tons of people who gave them 12 points last year here. So I'm expecting them to be a definite qualifier. So this is another slot that has gone from semi-final number 2. Next up, we have Luxembourg, who've drawn second half again. That's 2 times out of 2. They are the luckiest country at this point in time with a 100% second half record. Like I said, Georgia are in second place with 75%. They've already picked their song. It's Laura Thorne singing La Poupée Monte le Sang. I'm gonna do an analysis video about that really soon. Yeah, some good luck for Luxembourg. They've got Germany. They don't have Belgium and Netherlands, so that's a bit of a shame for them. I think this song can get through if they get much better staging. I think the song is really cute and nostalgic, will definitely appeal to all generations, particularly older generations or anyone looking for a nostalgic vibe. Again, this is one of the 3 songs that we already have. Yeah, I feel like this should qualify again. I don't think they're going to be given the last place slot. I think being given that 2 years in a row, the EBU might start getting accused of favoritism. They've got France here. I don't think Israel's going to be definitely given them the points like last year, because last year Tali was from Israel, whereas Laura is from Luxembourg. But definitely a good opportunity for Luxembourg to keep a 100% qualification record and keep themselves up with Ukraine. That is very nice company to be keeping. Okay, our second last country in the semi-final is Malta, who are on a 3 non-qualification streak, but I feel like they've got a little bit more fire and fight this year. Too big a national final. I just did my Malta analysis video. They need to cut that national final in half and get rid of all the ballads, but they've got some good options. They have 3 songs which could potentially be able to qualify them. I was so happy this drew second half after having been in the first half for 3 years in a row, and their running order slots were 6, 2 and 1. So just nice to see Malta have a little bit of luck in that sense. They've got the UK here, which sometimes gives them points. Ireland's here, Australia. I think their best strategy will be to send Cantera, do something a little bit different, give that folky feel that people really tune into Eurovision to watch. Really great opportunity for Malta to break this qualification streak and just get a little bit of positive energy, still hunting for that first win, having come second 2 times. This second half for me is really about the opportunities for Malta and Denmark. This is their chance, and also Georgia as well, to capitalize and get a second qualification in a row. Don't squander these opportunities. And all three of them have red and white flags. I just noticed that as well. Which brings us to our last country in the second half of semi-final number 2, that is Serbia. This is actually the first time Serbia's been in the second half of the second semi-final. Serbia is the most unlucky country in Eurovision in terms of drawing the second half. They drew first half 9 years in a row between 2016 and 2024. This was my loudest reaction watching the allocation draw. Especially since when they were drawn, I'm pretty sure it was a 1 in 4 chance, because there were 3 slots left in the first half and 1 in the second half. And I was just looking at it going, there's no way that Serbia can be first half again. And when they showed that second half one, the only one that was left in the pot, I screamed. I was so happy. In any case, as you can see from their record, Serbia have qualified 6 years in a row from that first half slot, just showing if you send quality, you can still go through. So the fact that they're in the second half this year, it would be crazy if they didn't qualify. So I'm expecting this to be an almost definite qualifier. Another slot I think is pretty much gone. I am 2/3 of the way through my Serbia review. So yeah, it'll be nice for Serbia to not have to stress as much this year. Luke Black, I think, was 10th. Yeah, like their last few qualifications have been 10th, and then Constructor was 3rd. Hurricane were 8th. They've never been outside the top 11 of a semi-final. The fact that statistic plus the fact that they're second half, they've also got Montenegro there. That's a guaranteed 12 points. Maybe might also get points from rest of the world, North Macedonia. It would be a big surprise if they didn't qualify. But I want them to not be in 10th place this year. I want them to be pushing for the top 5. Okay, now let's take a step back and look at this whole semi-final 2. Who are the people who I think are hogging qualification places? Serbia. Under normal circumstances, I would say Armenia, but it's a little bit of an unknown this year, so I'm going to put that finger down. Lithuania, Greece, Finland, Israel. So I think less guaranteed ones here. I'd say there's around 5 that I feel very confident about. And then there's countries who are really solid, like Czechia, Australia. And then we also have other countries who are on a little bit of an upturn right now. Ireland, Latvia, Georgia. Can they continue their really, really great streaks and get a second qualification in a row? Okay, now let's answer the big question. There's always talk every year, which semi-final is stronger, which is the semi-final of death. I'm going to give you some objective data and also my subjective opinion about whether the semi-finals are balanced or not. Let's go through objectively and see how many countries from semi-final number 1 qualified last year. The answer is 8 qualified and 6 didn't. In semi-final number 2, 11 qualified and 4 didn't. So semi-final number 2, if you just look at last year, have a better streak. Now, if we just count up all the green dots on semi-final number 1 and semi-final number 2, what percentage qualification rate do all of these countries have in the last 6 years? For semi-final number 1, it's 65.9, so 66%. And for semi-final number 2, it's 54.7, so 55%. So definitely in that like big scheme last 6 year regard, semi-final number 1 is much stronger, having an 11% higher qualification rate. And I think if you just look at pure streaks, semi-final number 1 has Sweden, Ukraine, Norway, 100% record in the last 6 years, Estonia only with 1 miss, Cyprus only with 1 miss, Portugal only 1 miss. Whereas if we go to semi-final number 2, only Serbia has a 100% record, and then you have Finland with 1 miss, Lithuania with 1 miss. So yeah, it depends how far back you want to look. I think if you just go by paper, semi-final number 1 is much stronger. But my thing is all the countries who are dragging down the record of semi-final number 2, Ireland, Latvia, Georgia, are all on a little bit of an upturn. I think it's very arguable that Ireland and Latvia qualify again this year. So despite being typically weak countries, they aren't being their usual weak self this year. Georgia is a little bit more of an unknown, I'm not sure. So I think actually when you factor in everything, I would say they're relatively equal. I would still agree that semi-final number 1 is a little bit harder. Keep in mind it also has 1 less country. Despite that, I think it's a little bit ahead of semi-final number 2, but I don't feel like one semi-final is a semi of death at all at this point in time. That can totally change. You know, if semi-final number 1 gets all of the favorites to win, and countries who don't usually deliver recently like Azerbaijan, San Marino, Iceland, if they suddenly start to deliver, definitely semi-final number 1 can become the killer. On the flip side, if semi-final number 2, Denmark have a good song, Malta picks something strong, Latvia come through, Austria has a good internal selection, I think then it becomes super, super even. That's good. We don't want it to be very uneven in the semi-finals. 2023 is the best example. The last time we had a real big semi-final of death. In the final, if you look at the qualifiers from semi-final number 1 took up 75% of the televote points, and the qualifiers from semi-final number 2 took up 25%. So the qualifiers from semi-final number 1 had 3 times more televote points than those in semi-final number 2. I covered that in my 2023 televote analysis video. So that for me is like objective data showing that the semi-final 1 songs were just much stronger. We don't want that because it means that some strong songs are missing out in one semi-final and some weaker entries that probably wouldn't have made it get through to the final. This for me feels much, much more even this year. I absolutely love that. I hope that it continues and we have 2 really competitive semi-finals where the 20 best songs are making it through to the final. Okay, I think I'm going to leave it for now because my voice is getting deeper and deeper as it's going. Okay, that is my analysis of the semi-final allocation draw for Eurovision 2024. What did you think? Who do you think really lucked out? And who do you think was very unlucky? Leave me a comment in the comment section down below. Thank you so much to those who've been supporting me on Buy Me a Coffee on PayPal. If you like the channel and you want to support, I'll leave a QR code for you here. And of course, thank you to all my wonderful patrons who are patronizing me from all around the world. On my Patreon, you can get an early release. This video is an early release on my Patreon. You can also get original audio. You can be in the credits. You can support the channel. Go check it out if you're a fan. But thank you so much just for being here. And I hope to see you in another Eurovision analysis video very, very soon. Goodbye. Ba 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 da ba.